our very last Spark Talk of today. My name is Liz Kazal. I am the Deputy Director of the Campaign for a Family-Friendly Economy. We are a national organization that's fighting for working families, and we've been working here in Georgia for the last several election cycles to help make sure that we can build political power across the country. Many of you probably know my colleague, Kiana Gregory, who would normally be standing up here in front of you today, who's an amazing leader. And we are thinking about her this month as she is taking care of herself on medical leave. But I'm also a lot of other things. I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a wife, I'm a caregiver to many people in my life, and I'm sure that many of you are too. And honestly, I feel like I come after a whole incredible lineup of leaders in this state. And so I just want to thank Dom, Jasmine, Allie, and Rajiv. I want to thank you so much for your work. And I'm going to talk a little bit about something that we've been talking about all morning, which is economic justice and care. Because care is about, people's wallets. So, I don't need to tell everybody in this room, we've already kind of talked about it over and over again, about the economic crisis that we're facing in this country. People are working right now every single day to make ends meet, and that struggle is pinching them on a daily basis, and it's what's top of mind when they're walking into the grocery store, when they are thinking about how to pay their bills, or when they're walking into the ballot box. And tackling this crisis is not only the right thing to do, but it is the politically savvy thing to do for us to build long-term political power. So for too long, our costs in this country continue to rise. And what's more is that people continue to point to caregiving as one of the major impacts of their wallets every single month. The second largest expense that people find in their lives is caregiving outside of paying for their rent or their mortgage. And we know that it's not just that they're treading water every single month, that many Americans also would have trouble paying a surprise bill if they had it if it came up. Most people say that $500 is enough to put them into financial turmoil. And this is particularly true for really key portions of our progressive coalition. Black voters in particular are pinched by an unexpected bill, and people who are making under $50,000 a year name this struggle as one of the big worries that they have on top of mind. And that worry, that insecurity, is not only fueling people's financial anxiety, it is also adding to their overall mental health stress. 2 in 5 people say every single day that they spend more than an hour worrying about their personal financial situation and how they're going to make ends meet. And the last thing I'll say here is that we know that caregiving continues to be one of those big costs every single month, whether that is paying your bills, paying for childcare, or even paying some of their daily utilities. So I'll say that, we know, you've already heard multiple times, I actually don't need to go into it. You've heard from Dom the policy solutions that exist. You heard from Jasmine the policy solutions that exist. You heard from Allie that if we simply just lower people's utility bills, it would put money back into their pockets. So it's actually not that we need policy solutions for these problems, we need political solutions for these problems. And so, we know that in order to build that political power for those political solutions, it's going to require us to tackle our opposition straight on. And the reason that we see this opposition to these policy solutions is because the ultra-wealthy and the conservative right would have us all believe that the pain that we feel is an individual failure as caregivers. And also, if it's an individual failure, then it's an individual solution to solve, not a systemic problem. For example, how many people in here have kids that are in childcare? Just a show of hands. Maybe they're in after-school care. Yeah, thank you. Keep them up. Maybe they're in part-time daycare. Well, then this story just, will feel all too familiar. But I have a 3.5-year-old. Her name's Rosemary. If you spend any time with me at all, I will whip out a photo of it and show you how much I love her. But when I had my daughter, I started to, go and ask different child cares, okay, how do I get on the list? I'm going to need some full-time care. I am a working mom, and I want to make sure that I can continue to do this important work and have her taken care of. I was told that there was a 6-month to 1 year waiting list for my child when I was ready to have her sign up for daycare. And what's more is that I was berated for not putting her on a list a year in advance. That's right, a year in advance. That means I should have known before I got pregnant that I was gonna have a baby, and then I would put that person's name on a list that eventually I would get that child care. I hear some people say, yeah, it's ridiculous. And so what I would say is that, thankfully I work in an organization that believes in paid family and medical leave, and so I had that paid family and medical leave. My husband also works in an organization who offers paid family and medical leave, so we were able to cobble together, between his leave and mine, about 6-7 months of full-time care for Rosemary. And that's about when things got dicey. It was through cobbling together my parents, a daily negotiation with my husband, and just by sheer luck on a weekly and monthly basis that we were able to continue to work while she waited for a spot in daycare. And honestly, I wish that my situation was unique, but unfortunately it is a story that many people live on a daily basis, some of them in this room. And in that moment, not only did I feel, obviously nervous about how I was going to make ends meet, or worried about how I was going to make sure she was getting early childhood education that she needed, but I also felt like a personal failure. I felt shame, I felt disconnected, and I felt like maybe I shouldn't be a caregiver because I didn't have it all together. But not once did I think, okay, this child care crisis is a failure on my local government for not having enough options. Not once did I think it is a failure on our state government for having longer comprehensive paid family and medical leave. And not once did I think, this is a problem that the U.S. government has a role to play and solve because we need comprehensive care infrastructure to support working families. And you can see why. I mean, J.D. Vance said this last year, and they see this as they have unserious solutions to this very serious problem. In their mind, maybe it's grandma, or maybe it's your aunt and uncle that can step in and, for free, by the way, take care of your kids. In their minds, it's because they don't see systemic solutions as a lifeline that many Americans need to help provide for their families. And Trump and his allies are fighting for a world where the government and public policy are all in service and exist only to line their wallets and the wallets of their wealthy friends, versus bringing real relief to people's daily financial situation. And that's unacceptable, and that's where CFIB comes in. We believe that you need to build political power for these political solutions, and the way to do that could not be clearer. We need a democratic trifecta at the federal level so that we can pass comprehensive care infrastructure for families to have what they need in order to thrive. And once we actually have those leaders in office, we need enough champions to carry the water on this issue so that we actually deliver that relief for families. And that's why we are laser focused on these two goals this year. And our priorities are helping us get there. So we're doing 3 things this cycle to help us march in that direction. The first is that we want to hold elected officials accountable. That both means making sure that we're building up our champions, making sure that they see that there's visible public demand for these policy solutions and that we are going to have their back on the campaign trail to support these issues. But it also means holding Republican feet to the fire for running on a lowering cost agenda and yet raising costs every single chance that they could get for families. We are focused on continuing to iterate this cycle. I think we've heard it multiple times that we can't just sit and think the same old tactics are going to work every single year. We have to continue to innovate. And so we see that as the bread and butter of what we're trying to do at CFFE. And ultimately, that we need to win elections. Political power is about winning elections, and we are here to do it. So let me talk a little bit about how we're doing this year, and then I will leave you with some exciting tactics that we're trying. So the first and foremost, like I said, we have to show our electeds that not only do these issues impact their constituents, that their constituents will vote for them to solve these problems. So, 2 senators right here in Georgia who caregiving is very near and dear to their heart both Senator Warnock and Senator Ossoff have talked about their role as parents. They have some actual skin in the game, and so what we want to do is make sure that they see from their constituents that we want them to prioritize care. But it's not enough to just have good champions. We also want to hold politicians' feet to the fire. I mean, Charles said this in his opening, and I'm going to just say it again. This summer, Trump and his allies passed the largest wealth transfer from working people straight into billionaire pockets. And now what they're trying to do is blame it on Democrats. And we have an opportunity right now during this government shutdown to hold their feet to the fire. And there's no better example of what we have to lose and how serious the situation is than right here in Georgia. If we just look at healthcare, for example, we stand to lose billions of dollars because of Trump's tax plan. And we also stand to lose hundreds of thousands of people who are going to no longer have health insurance because of these premium subsidies going away. We need to be hammering this home. We need to be saying it loud. We need to be driving home the difference between what they ran on, which was lowering costs, and what they're actually doing, which is raising them in each and every way. And lastly, we need to win in 2026. We have to continue to expand the map. We have to add more, we have to take back seats, so that's what we're focused on doing. We want to flip some U.S. Senate seats. We need to pick up seats in the U.S. House. And finally, we need to defend people that we already have in office, like Senator Ossoff here in Georgia. But in order to do that, we have to continue to sharpen our skills to be the most effective campaigners and practitioners that we can to win those elections, which is what we are working on in 2025. So let me just say a little bit about that before I leave you. I think a lot of folks have talked about, Jasmine talked about Aaliyah's story and centering Aaliyah and talking about how powerful her story was in illustrating the multi-layers that people feel in these economic crises. And we agree that people are actually the best narrator of both their own problems and what they want their electeds to do as part of the solution. And that is actually the core of our field programs. Our field programs are the crown jewel of our electoral programs. We run really large-scale door-knocking efforts every single year. And in those conversations, we prioritize two-way conversations. Our canvas script starts with not, hi, who are you going to vote for? Hi, let me tell you about paid leave. It starts with, if you had your senator right in front of you today, what would you tell them? What would you ask them to prioritize? If you could tell them one thing that is pinching you in your daily life, what would it be? We ask them to say that in their own words. We've asked them to share videos with their electeds and take photos. And to be honest with you, in years past, that conversation really ended there. And at the end of 2024, we noticed that we had hundreds of hours of videos of people talking in their own words about the problems that they're facing and the solutions that they want to solve. And it turns out those folks are actually pretty good persuaders of their friends and family and neighbors. And so this year we're actually piloting what we're calling a relational advertising campaign program. We're launching it in my home state of North Carolina. Hopefully we can expand it. Yeah, thank you. Hopefully we can expand it this cycle because the results are really exciting and really promising, but probably not that surprising to the people in the room, which is that one, when you get people talking, they really like to talk. Two, they use better jargon than we come up with in a little 10-pin DC. And three, their words actually move their friends and family. So we are in the community right now, but what I want to point you to is that we have had really impactful persuasion effects with this tactic. What we do is we have people record that video, and then we redeploy that into the very geographies with which we were out there organizing. And you can see that we're able to move people's disapproval ratings on their Republican senator by more than 4 points. And so we want to do more of this. We need to get sharper. We need to be where our voters are, and we need to win. Because the American people in this room, the people we love, we are feeling that economic pain on a daily basis. And what we need to build a political movement is to see that pain, to invite people to be a part of the political solution, and then go win the elections that it's going to take to build that political power. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.